everyone, I'm Allie Buchman with the Potomac Bead Company, and today I have the pleasure of doing one of our design challenge creations for you. And this was number 14. This is Donna Page's design, and I am going to be doing her AVA Choker. So I have tons of materials here for the AVA Choker necklace, and you can really limit yourself if you would like to one color. In her design, Donna used a beautiful blue color. I think it was the metallic sea blue. So if you search our Facebook group or look for Donna's design of the AVA Choker, you can see it in one color. I decided since she did one color that I would transition in kind of an ombre here from a little bit of greener to more blue and then to a deeper purple. So I'm going to be using a fair amount of the different AVA beads in 6 different colors. In her design, I can't see the entire back of it, but I'm guessing about 50 AVA beads is what she used in the design. As I create and as I make this, it's kind of fun because I get to do it almost along with you guys as you create as well. So we're going to be using the AVA beads and Potomac Crystal Rondelles and then 11O seed beads. If you need any of the materials to do this AVA Choker necklace, you can look at the little I, which is information at the top here of the video if you take your mouse over it, or below the video, which is usually easier. There's a date that the video was produced and published and some information there. If you do a little drop down or a down arrow on that, you can get the different list of materials that are needed. So again, for this AVA Choker, which is very, very kind of simple design, which makes it so nice, we're going to be lining up the AVA beads, you can see here on the side, in a V pattern there, in a zigzag pattern. For that chevron pattern, again, I am using 6 colors of my AVA beads. So I have here the Pastel Petrol, Metallic Aqua, then the Sea Blue, Metallic Violet, the White Lila Vega Luster, and then the Pastel Bordeaux that I'll kind of ombre into. Again, about 50 beads, so I'm kind of dividing that over the 6, and I will just kind of transition from my blue to my purple as my choker forms. In addition to the AVA beads, we are using Potomac Crystal Rondelles. And the rondelles we're using are both the 2x3 size as well as the 3x4 millimeter size. So the 3x4s are going to go along the bottom, and I have the transparent, metallic transparent green and the magic blue color that'll go along the bottom, again transitioning from the blue green into the blue purple. And then at the top here I have the light sapphire AB in the 2x3 millimeters, and then that Alexandrite or sky color, which here looks blue, and then if I take it in a different light, it's going to look purple. So you kind of have those different color mixes in there. Again, I'm going to transition at the top from the darker blue to that lighter kind of purple and move the ombre along as we design. The whole thing then is kind of stitched together with 11O seed beads, and I'm using Crystal Labrador Full 11O. For my thread and needle, I have some Wildfire beading thread in my green color, and I have a size 12 beading needle. You can use a 10 or a 12 because you're just going to be coming kind of back and forth and down the project. I also have a Potomac cup button here, and it is the light violet AB, which I think matches really well, and it has that blue shimmer to it, and then the purple when you're looking at a different angle. Also handy, I like to have my needle nose pliers to kind of flatten out my thread because I like to use a thread burner. This one is the Thread Zap 2 by Beadsmith, and I use that to get my thread off my spool and then also to burn down the edges of the thread as I knot them off or as I finish the project up. So I'm going to get started with Donna Page's AVA Choker design, and to do so I want about 5 feet of beading thread on my needle. I'm going to pour out a collection of my AVA beads, and I'm going to be working from the top down to the bottom. So I don't need my rondelles here at all. I just need my rondelle strands here that I'm going to be using that are at the top. So little piles of each of your AVA beads, as well as little piles of the crystals and your 11O seed beads with 5 feet onto your beading thread. And that'll get us ready to go then to start creating. So the first thing that I've done for tension purposes, I'm not going to put the clasp on right away. I have here a seed bead that's used as a stop bead that's about 3 inches from the actual tail of the thread. And I've gone through that stop bead 2 times, going from the top or from the bottom to the top, which puts those threads on the outside there of the bead. I also use a bead that's not included in the actual production of the product, because that way it makes it easier then for me to know that this bead actually comes off and that I don't want to keep the bead on at the end and I'm not sewing through it by accident. So to start off with the choker, I'm going to start off with 2 rotations of my crystals. So my crystals, again, I kind of have my AVA beads here at the top. I'll pull my crystals down so that way I have them there. I laid out 5 or 4 of each of the colors of my AVA beads because we're going along the top, so we're going to transition a fair amount from one color to the other. The pattern at the top is very simple. It is 1 crystal with 11 O's in between. I'm going to repeat that one more time and let that drop down next to my stop bead. So I have the 11 O's with the crystals in between. From there, we're going to start picking up our AVA beads. And the AVA beads here are going to, like I said, kind of sit in that zigzag. So what we're going to do first is string through the top of the AVA bead through the top hole. So we want it to look like an A rather than a V. To string through them, you're just going to go right through the top. One thing that you want to make sure before you start stringing is that all the holes are opened. If they are blocked, you can take your bead reamer and ream it out a little bit. Sometimes when the coating is done in this intricate handmade production, sometimes the holes will clog a little bit. So make sure as you're using them that they're all usable so you don't have to come back and kind of recreate. So I have on my first of my AVA beads, and again having that in an A shape. From here, very simple, going with an 11O crystal, 11O, and then I pick up my next AVA bead. And down it goes. Again, just keep going. So you don't need to really think about this too hard. Again, I'm using approximately 4 or 5 of each color of my AVAs. And I'm going to keep putting them on with an 11O seed bead and my 2x3 millimeter rondelle right in the middle of those 11O seed beads. So again, I'm going to pick up all of my beads here. I have 5 of the first color, then I have 5, 5, 4, 5, 4. So just pick up till you get approximately 50 of your AVAs long, going through that first hole with the crystals with the 11O seed bead between each. As I'm transitioning now from my blue beads to my purple beads, I'm going to come and switch from that light sapphire color to that sky or Alexandrite color. So I'm going in here and then switching so that way I know color-wise exactly that the purple is kind of staying with the purple and the blues staying with the blue. So as you switch towards your colors, if you are doing this ombre look with me, you want to switch the crystals at the top and switch which color you're picking up so that way you stay with that kind of same color gradient. So here at the top then you can see that nice kind of ombre happening with the purples, greens going into the purples here, and that I had switched to the color of the crystal as I go from that blue to that purple color. So I've added on 32 of my AVA beads. So we're going to need a little bit more than 50, more like 63. And I am kind of seeing, you can see that ombre going on. And I'm getting to the end and I'm going to add a little bit of length and then we're going to put on our cup button and actually come back the other way, adding in our other AVA beads on the bottom. So to do so, I have the very end of my necklace, like I started it. I'm going to make it just a little bit longer by adding on a couple more crystals. We'll add 5 in total. Oops. So I'll do 3 more crystals with 11O seed beads in between each. I want to end with an 11O. And I'm going to take that 11O seed bead then and add on 3 more 11Os. From there, I'm going to go up the back of the cup button, so that way my needle is coming out through the dome side of the cup button. From there in the middle, I want to add a little bit of the blue color, and I'm going to use my magic blue to do that. Kind of dump that out here. add an 11, and then that magic blue, and another 11. And I'm going to come down the other side of the cup button. So the cup buttons have 2 holes. I went up one side and then down the other. You can see that crystal just going to kind of hang out in the middle there. When I come down the other side, I want to add 4 more seed beads, just like before the first hole. Once I have those 4 seed beads in, I'm going to take my needle and thread and go back through my crystal 11 crystals all the way back till I'm coming out the 1102 from the end. So those extras that we added on is what we're going through. That's going to bring that clasp right there, and you can see kind of that V shape that it creates. And from here I'm going to go from the top of the AVA bead down to the bottom hole of that same AVA bead. So I'm going to use an 11-0 and then a crystal and an 11-0. And you can see that's going to kind of pull right along in there. Because I want it on an angle, we're going to go then into the AVA bead. When we go into the AVA bead, we're going to go on the first hole of the AVA, and we'll kind of switch the project here and flip from one side to the other, so that way you can see that we're going from the top to the bottom. So as we progress with this purple side here, we're going to be adding in another row and another level of our AVA beads. This row is going to sit in that zigzag fashion. I'm going to get out some more of my Pastel Petrol here, or my Pastel Bordeaux rather. And when you're coming out of the AVA bead, it's going to sit right against here, right against the AVA, the stems here of the A's. We're going to put in the V shape, stringing straight through all of our AVA beads as we go along. To get there, I need a little something because I have a gap here because we are not adding an AVA bead on that side. So I have 2 11-0 seed beads that are going to go on. And I'm going to turn my project and kind of hold it in my hand. I'm going to put on my AVA bead so that I'm going through the first hole of the AVA when it's in a V shape. I'm going to go through the 2 bottom holes of the next AVAs in line. Pull my thread through. And once I have that in there, then I'm going to take my thread and needle and go back to the new AVA and go through that second hole. From here on out, it's very simple. We are just adding an AVA bead between each set of AVAs above. So I'm going to go through now and literally string right through, adding in an AVA, going through the V section of it, then going through the bottom holes of the 2 AVAs that sit above, the right side of the first AVA, and then the left side of the second, and then back through, or back down to the base AVA, and stringing through there. As I progress, then I'll switch from one color to the other, and as I go here, I'll have my Pastel Bordeaux that I'll add in, and then as I get close to the Crystal Lila Vega, I'll start and kind of switch into that color, adding that. And it doesn't need to be on a perfect kind of V that you add the different colors in. You can do some of more color and then some of less, and kind of add them in along as you go. Remember, when you get from the purple to the blue side, also to switch over your kind of over to your beads, going from that purple to that blue shade. As you get to the middle, switch and transition from the purple to the blue. Once you get your second row of AVAs in here, we'll come back together, we'll make a loop on the other side and come back down and add our crystals in at the bottom of the AVA choker. As we come to the end of the necklace, you can see that kind of nice ombre color going on there in the design. I did want to note that as I was working with it, in order to get the curvature nicely and to get it to sit nicely, I did loosen the stop bead and reduced my end here from about 3 inches to 2 inches. That gave a little bit more slack to the actual necklace. That way it's going to sit nicely and drape nicely on my neck when I wear it. So that's another reason that we didn't put on the clasp right away, is because we did want a little bit of play for that to get that nice curvature and make sure that that curvature sits correctly on our design. When you get to the end and you have your last AVA bead that you're going through, I repeated what I did on the previous side, adding in my 2 seed beads before actually going into the last kind of stem of the AVA bead. Coming out then, I'm going to get ready to put on my clasp. My 3x4 millimeters I could have put away already, and then my 2x3 rather, and then my 3x4s or my 4mm rounds, whatever you're choosing to use, they can come and get poured out. But right now we're going to get ready to do the clasp. So just like I did with the other side here, I'm going to repeat kind of that coming out of the actual AVA bead in a V. So I'm going to pick up a 15-0, and then, 11-0, a crystal, 11-0, and then I'm going to sew through the seed bead right before the stop bead. Coming out there then, it is time for me to kind of tighten up my thread just a little bit, pushing that stop bead back down into place. And what I'm going to do is make a loop for the button to sit into. For my loop, I'm going to repeat again what I did on the previous side, adding a crystal, and then seed bead, crystal, seed bead, and then crystal. So that added those 3 crystals to the end, just like we did, to keep our sides consistent. And then I'm going to make a loop. For my loop, I'm going to get about 28 of my 11-0 seed beads and put those onto my needle. From here then, I will reinforce that loop, and then we get one more time to go back down the necklace, and we will get a chance to reinforce our button as we go through then and actually add in the crystals to the base and come back and sew back to the button side. So I'm going to keep going here with a couple more of my seed beads. And then from here, once I have enough for my loop, for my button to sit inside of comfortably, I'm going to take my needle and thread and go back down the crystal all the way to where that stop bead is. From there, I'm going to take off that stop bead and get rid of that thread by tying that thread onto the thread that I'm currently working with. Kind of tighten it up a little bit. I'm keeping that there. From there then, I'm going to reinforce my loop by kind of circling around. So I'm going to go back down my seed beads here along the top crystals. Go through the AVA bead here, and then I'm going to come out from the top of the AVA and sew into the bottom of that same AVA bead. So straight on through then, and basically we're just circling around the project. Because we're using green thread, you're not going to see the thread along the side of the AVA there. And I'm going to go in and reinforce my loop now. So I'm going to go in and completely sew back through everything that we just did. So sewing back through all of those seed beads, and then we're going to come out down towards the end here and get ready to add our next little row on. So I've reinforced my loop. I did tie off again onto that starter thread, and I'm coming out the base right before the first of the AVA beads. I'm going to pop my thread out, and we're going to come down to the actual bottom of the piece and sew seed beads in between with our bigger crystals. So I have my bigger crystals that I'll kind of make little piles of. I have my blue ones first, and then I'll go in to that transparent, my transparent green first, and then I'll go into the blue on the other side, or vice versa. Blue here, purple as I get to the other side. Sorry about that. But what I'm going to do to get down to that point, and we're done with our AVA beads at this point as well. So to get down to that point that I want to be adding in my crystals, I'm going to add some 11-0 seed beads. We're going to add 4 11-0 seed beads. Let those drop down next to the project. Add in 1 of my crystals. And then we're going to add in 2 more seed beads. From there, we are going to sew from that first hole, or that top hole there, we are going now into the bottom hole of the AVA bead. You can see the crystal is just going to kind of sit off to the side now. Now our pattern is really, really simple. Just like it was at the top, that it was 1 11-0 and a crystal. It is the same thing, but instead of 1, it is 2 11-0s, crystal, 2 11-0s, and then we're sewing right along our bottom baseline. The beads are just going to hang out in between there. And as you continue the design, again, when you get close to the purple, we're going to switch from the green color to the magic purple color. You can see that establishes a nice turn and a nice curvature as well as we work in the project. So again, 2 seed beads go on, nice and simple, 1 crystal, 2 seed beads, sew through the bottom hole of the next of your AVA beads. So go ahead and continue the whole length of your necklace, adding in your crystals with the seed beads on either side and sewing into the bottom of the AVA bead. One thing that you could do, and you can kind of have fun doing this, is actually make a drop and have a little bit more of an effect going on. If you wanted to jazz it up a little bit, you could have something dropping out the base here as you get to the center and kind of having fun with the design. It's a great base design that's nice and easy that I think that Donna did a really great job on, and hopefully you guys have fun kind of creating this. So again, continuing right down the line, adding in our crystals and sewing into the next AVA bead. As I finish up the necklace and finish with my last set of crystals there, it's time for me to repeat what I did on the previous side, jumping from one AVA to kind of the end in order to reinforce. I'll try to bring this kind of in focus for you so you can kind of see it a little bit. Necklaces are really hard, but you can kind of see that nice transition. I'm really excited to wear this one. And I want to put on 2 seed beads, and then I'm going to do another one of my magic blue, 2 seed beads, and then 2 more seed beads, because in the start we did 4. We're then going to go up into the seed bead and the crystal right on the opposite side of the first AVA bead. And that'll just kind of hang there. From there, I'm going to reinforce my loop, or my button rather, since that is where it gets the most tension, is at the clasp. I'm going to go in and take my thread and needle right back through my entire clasp here, up through the seed beads on the top, through the crystal, and then down through the seed beads. From there, I'm going to sew into the project just a little bit, kind of backtracking, bringing my thread out at different intervals. And as I bring my thread out at different intervals, I will go ahead and do little sewer's knots or quick stitches, making a loop, sewing into that loop, and causing a knot. Going back into the project a little bit more, I'll do the same thing again, making a loop underneath that bridge thread. Sew through it once, sew through it twice, making sure that it's between those beads, and giving a nice tight pull. Again, I'll do this about 2 more times. And then when I'm all finished and have it nice and ready to go, I'll go back through the project, back through the start of it and then to the end here. Take my thread zap, burn down the thread, creating a little stop on the thread. And then you hardly notice it at all. If you want to, you can also get some super glue glue, and you can take the super glue glue and glue your thread ends as well. And once you have it then done, and those all burned down, your nice AVA collar necklace is completed. So the best thing about doing the jewelry design challenge is that I get to have fun making other people's designs. And a lot of you guys kind of get outside of the box and you're not used to designing and creating on your own. And that's what I love about the Potomac Bead Company Jewelry Challenge, is that we challenge you guys to actually create on your own, make on your own, and then you guys get to share your love of everything with others by having me do this YouTube video. So thank you very much to Donna for submitting and for having the AVA collar ready to go for me to make and create. As always, everybody, if you need the materials, you can shop with me at PotomacBeads.com. You can go back to the beginning of the video to kind of where I listed off exactly what I have, or below the video to the little date stamp, and then do that down arrow and kind of gather all the materials there that you need. Like I said, you can also play up with this design and kind of hang stuff down as fringe and really make it more intricate, but I love kind of this chevron look, and I'm really happy with the way that the gradient turned out as well. Again, if you really like this video, want to stay connected with us and want to watch more, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also stay connected with us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Pinterest. And also, if you want to join our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making, there is where Donna first submitted her design and posted it in our group there. It's a fun, interactive group of people that love to make jewelry and love the different art of it and are super helpful if you guys have questions or concerns or need some answers. It's really a great interactive group there. So as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again, Donna, for your submission and for this AVA Choker necklace. Everybody, if you get a chance to have fun creating and making this design. Thanks a lot for watching.